What's going on, Joe?
Hey, what's up? I think we got us recording here. It says recording, so hopefully that's legit. Hey, everybody, Joe Giletti here, and obviously I got Anthony from West Coast. Many of you have not met him yet, so it's my pleasure to introduce him, a fellow Italian. There's lots of Italian jokes that will be going back and forth.
Oh, yes.
Don't ever say anything mean about Anthony, or his family will come get you, if you know what I mean. He can provide protection, though. Anyways, that's a totally different.
True. That is true.
Anthony, why don't you introduce yourself to everybody? Tell them a little bit about, obviously, just to give everybody some background, Anthony and I met early December last year and started talking, and he's the only person I've ever talked to that really needs numbers the way that I knew them, and our numbers were matching up on everything. If you remember the conversation, Anthony, it was like, I think initially you called and you're like, hey, Joe, I see you got this coaching thing, but I think I'm already doing what you're doing. And I was like, no, you're not. In your dreams, pal, right? And it came out that he was, although he had figured out some pieces on the back end that were really cool. And that's the part he really loves. And I won't say he loves loan officers, but he likes that part. And I like the real estate part. And we're just making it happen together. So as you all know, we're chasing the dream of closing over. We tell the whole world $1 billion in real estate. The truth is, if we hit our numbers just on some of the front end stuff, we'll hit $3 billion, right? Yes. Our initial numbers from December were between $3 and $3.5 billion. Nobody will believe that. I looked at the stats recently. The highest selling real estate agent last year in the country did $1.6 billion. And those were individual home sales, new home builders. And so he's doing all the marketing for that. So I believe, and I'm fighting, and Anthony is fighting to crush that and make that guy go home and cry to his wife and say, I'm not worthy to even be in the same country as this team. So, Anthony, who are you? Tell them all about it.
Well, thanks for the intro in regards to that. But the reality is those numbers are crushable. Just because we know our business, you're on the real estate side of the business, we're on the mortgage side of the business. We've been there. I've been in the mortgage business in the financial world since '99. So we've been in it for a long time. It's not like we woke up overnight and said, yeah, let's make this happen. These are the numbers and we're going to crush it, and whoop-de-doo, everybody's happy, right? That's not how it goes. Although those are great dreams, but takes a while to get there. So it is true. What Joe said is that, I noticed Joe that he's doing his thing and I'm doing my thing on this side of the coast. He's on the east, I'm on the west side. And I'm looking at it going, dude, we have similar models running, but as you guys know, a lot of times it's a bandwidth issue, right? What your specialties and what your bandwidth is. Give you a quick story in regards to that is that, for my background, it's like we've been in the mortgage business since 2000. I started doing FHAs from ground up, literally, right? It was, I looked at it as that's the industry I wanted to get in because either you're either born wealthy or you make your money in real estate, right? That's how it is. And I don't know if you remember back the old, I don't know.
We're online marketing now, right? Now, online marketing is, they're chasing us.
Well, marketing is it's a machine that gets you the ultimate prize, right? So marketing is a vehicle to get to the ultimate prizes. Although marketing is, without marketing, you have no damn business. I don't care what you have, what product or what service you have. If there's no form of marketing, letting the population know what you do, it's irrelevant, right? So, been in the mortgage business for a long time, opened up, learned the industry, took 4 years to learn the industry really, really well. And I actually got bored with it, quite honestly. As you propel in any industries, even in marketing, right? Once you get to a certain level of marketing, you propel, you're like, oh shit, man, it's all the same, right? It's just a certain limit that you go to. So from there, we started our own mortgage operation. We were bored, me and a good friend of mine that I've grew up with for a long time. And I said, hey, look, I think I'm bored working for the big corporations, E-Trade, Dytex, things like that, right? And we decided to go out that afternoon and look for office space, and we locked one down the following day, and we were all in. That's how quickly it moved. I mean, I literally still have the emails from 04, late 03, early 04, where I'm drawing the freaking logo. It was a pillar. Right, the logo and the name of the company was called the Mortgage Bank. So that's what it was, and we did that pretty well for 4 years. We grew that operation to 45 reps, 8-9 processors, and a couple of assistants. So that industry worked well, then went into other industries. But again, I'm not going to make the long story. I'm not going to make a story long.
The point is, you've done this once or twice, huh?
We've done this twice. So 3 times. So the first time, everybody says it's 7 figures, 7 figures, 7 figures. Yeah, dude, we've done it. It's not a big deal there at all. In the mortgage business, anyone that's been in the mortgage business in that heyday knows that's no bullshit, right? I mean, it was there. Yep. We capitalized on it. And then when the mortgage world collapsed, we got into the debt restructuring business, and then we hit 7 figures in that one as well too, right? And then we took some other ventures and got involved in some other arenas. And then there was a third venture that I have to admit we struck out. As great as I want it to be, where every time you hit a home run, you don't. That's business. It's just the way it is.
Russell Brunson calls that cycling, right?
Yeah, it is.
And I have been through cycles where it's like, hey, I'm not necessarily the cat's meow.
and honestly, quite frankly, Joe, if anyone tells you they always hit a freaking home run, they're full of shit. Let's just. I'm sorry to say that. I hate to kind of put it on your recordings, but that's the reality of it, right? It is what it is. Someone that tells you, yeah, every time I went up to the bat, I swung a home run. Really? I mean, if that worked out that well, fucking A, let me know.
Yeah.
But you struck out, and that was a big loss. And it is what it is. You lose $800,000, you dust it off. You go, okay, 1 loss, 2 wins. Let's go for the 4th. And that's where we're at, and that's what we're doing. So it was like what Joe said. I saw what he's doing over there, and I'm like, Joe, we're both are going the same path due to bandwidth, due to resources, and vice versa, and manpower. Why don't we do this thing, and where you handle the real estate side of the business, generating the realtors side will generate the clients, because let's face it, generating leads for consumers or for businesses, whether realtors, loan officers, or any type of industry, it isn't that complicated, right? I mean, you have to agree with that. It's not, there isn't this magical formula that someone's guarding and going, ooh, I got this, it's mine. It doesn't work that way.
The group is always surprised by the small number of funnels, right? I'm like, keep it simple. Yeah. 4 primary funnels we work with. That's it, right? Do this, leads, right? It's all about the conversion on the back end, which is what we're going to get into here. But sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, there is an art to generating leads, obviously, but is it an elusive? Is it an elusive thing? No, it isn't an elusive thing. Once you master it, kind of like how you've done it, how I've done it. We know it. It becomes second nature to us, right? So we said, okay, look, in the real estate world, we can generate buyers. The problem is you don't know whether they're qualified buyers or not, right? And the realtors, quite frankly, are busy with their own dealings and with their own workings, try to go figure out whether they should speak, whether this client is committed yet or not committed yet, right? We know that.
I'm sorry, I can't help laugh when you say realtors are busy. Sorry.
You'd be surprised. Some realtors.
Are you busy with the right thing, Mr. or Mrs. Agent? That's what I'd like to know. But anyways, that's a different subject. Sorry.
Yeah,
I'm a realtor. I can make fun of us. So.
I was gonna say we can share war stories on both sides, dude, and we'll be like, you just kind of look at those things, you scratch your head, you go, what? I mean, if you're that freaking busy, right, why are you still working?
Right.
Right. So. Anyway, so we teamed up together. Me and Joe kind of hit it off pretty good. We understood each other. Our numbers, like you said, matched. Everything was there for us. We're like, okay, look, good. We know the mortgage world. The real estate world. Let's combine forces and just go for that $3.2 billion number that we all have in mind. And a lot of people will hear that number and go, that's impossible. Well, it is if you're thinking this small, right? We're not thinking this way. We're thinking this way, and we're thinking scalability. The number one thing that I've learned over the businesses I've had, the ones that succeeded and the ones that failed, is any business, the first thing you ask and any question you do is it scalable? If it's not scalable, don't even touch it, right? Because if it's not scalable or systemized, then you really have a job, right? I mean, that's what happens. So if you can scale it, great. We'll take it upon and move forward. So when me and Joe talk about the 3.2 billion plus mark, the numbers are pretty damn easy, and we can break it down and kind of go over those things a little bit later on, but it's doable. So we teamed up and kind of went forward that way. So we get the clients. So just kind of a quick move forward. Joe generates the leads for his realtors. The realtors need a lending platform to approve these clients and get them qualified, so that way the realtors don't waste their time chauffeuring a client that doesn't qualify, right? Or meeting with a client that doesn't qualify. It's just time consuming for the realtors as well. So we get the lead, we go ahead and reach out to them via text, email, and phone calls. Yes, phone calls, those things that everybody's trying to get away from, but they have to be the right timings, right? You're not going to just call and go, hi, I see that you're looking at a property. What can we do for you? It doesn't come out that way. It doesn't work that way. There's a different approach when it comes to buyers, real estate buyers or sellers on Facebook. You could probably, testify to that one. It's not like, hey, Joe, I saw you clicked on this one. Would you like to buy today? It doesn't happen that way. It takes time, it takes nurturing, it takes a different approach to come at it. And that's been really kind of a little bit struggle, I have to admit, with a lot of the loan officers that we have on board, as you know. There's a lot of loan officers, kind of like realtors, they just want to go in and go for the kill right away. Where the Facebook leads clients, they're not right away, but they are those that are there. To give you an example, on Sunday, I made 7 phone calls, right? On a
Today's Tuesday, by the way, at the recording of this, just to give some perspective. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was 3 days ago, right? Sunday afternoon, I called and just took about, wanted to sample some of the leads myself, so that way I see what the reps are doing and vice versa on my end as well, too, right? Out of the 7 leads, 4 went to voicemail, 1 was a bad connection, and 2 I spoke to, right? Out of the 2 I spoke to, 1 was just kind of searching, looking at the values, kind of looking what's going on. After some Q&A, I felt like I was, dragging him with me, kind of getting some answers from him, and that's the reality of that. But he ended up having several properties, and he's just kind of looking at what the property values are in the neighborhood, so debating whether he wants, to sell or buy eventually, right? More to his portfolio. So, but the second conversation was a really good conversation as well. Me and the client hit it off pretty good, and he wants to sell a property and buy a property, right? And his motivational factor is he's paid HOAs, homeowners insurance, if any of you guys, homeowners association, I'm sorry, HOAs, $625 a month in an area where the values of the homes are around $400,000. So you're like, how is it that you're paying association fees of $600 and a quarter at a $400,000 price range here? And I know the area, by the way, right? It's an area that I know, thankfully, and I'm like, something's wrong there. He goes, yeah, it is, and he wants to actually get rid of that 625 and upgrade the property to a higher square footage and move forward with that. So out of the 7 leads, it was, 57% of them went to actually a voicemail, right? And out of the voicemail leads on those ones, roughly about 14% were 28% were the ones that we spoke to, and then 14% were great leads. So those stats, when we talk about, the $1 billion mark and vice versa, look, it's there. The leads are there. The clients are there. You just have to have a different, complete approach than normal. You can't go in for the juggler. You can't go in to squeeze the client and push him through. You're looking for the clients that are willing to move forward, that don't understand the process, and you have to educate them and walk them through the process, right? Yeah. Because the biggest thing that most people do in their lives is buy a home. That's the biggest expense, as you know, right? So you got to walk them through that process. And that's where we're at. That's where me and Joe come in. We teamed up. He brings his resources and his expertise and his knowledge in marketing and generating leads for the buyers, for the realtors as buyers. And then we have that experience as well, too. And that's why we kind of hit it off pretty good. And we're like, hey, Joe, you're doing what we're doing. Yeah. Let's just move forward. I'm going to make you an offer you can't refuse. And that was the offer. The offer was, Joe, you handle the realtors, we'll handle the mortgage guys. We'll bring the 2 worlds together. Everybody prosperous. The realtors are happy. The loan guys are happy. You and me are happy, and our teams are happy. So that was a conversation me and Joe actually had.
Well, and I think that a lot of times on the real estate agent side, what they miss or maybe don't realize are oftentimes the people who are coaching clients who are helping us move forward towards these goals forget to mention when they're talking to the real estate agents. It's my experience last year was we would run ads for real estate agents, and they would either have great success or there were 2 common problems. One is they were terrible at converting leads. Number one. Or number two, we gave them more leads than they could possibly like keep up with, right? And so those are both problems. Like even they say, oh man, that's a good problem. More leads than I can handle. No, it's not, because if you're not actually closing any of those more leads you can handle, then it's a waste, right? And so one of the things I've realized is that, and pretty much anybody in the industry that I've talked to about this, is that even though Anthony has his challenges as he trains the team up and continues to scale up the size of the team so we can handle more agents, loan officers in general are going to be better at converting leads than real estate agents. And the reason for that is real estate agents don't get mad, don't get argumentative. It's not your fault. The reason is because you're running around taking care of properties, networking meetings, all this other stuff, whereas most loan officers are at a desk, right? They have a more systematic process and just environment to be able not just to follow up the one time when they call, but it's systematic, right? All the different things that we're going to go into a little bit here is more possible. So what it allows for is it allows this process, like us being able to, I mean, Anthony, what you and your team are doing right now, as you know, like if you look at hiring ISAs, it's about $10 a lead, right? People are paying for the leads and they're paying $10 for the, well, in your and I's case, that means they're paying 4 times the amount they normally pay for a lead, right? Whereas if we just do it for them, it costs them nothing unless deals close on the back end, which is nice. And so that it's not just that, though. It's not just the cost. It's also for these real estate agents to recognize that if you're spending $1,000 a month in ad spend and we're getting you 200 or 300 leads, one of the guys who's a coaching client with me, he used to close 1,000 homes a year.
Wow.
Right? And he had a team, obviously.
You're not gonna be able to do it on your own.
Right. And he said, I would never ever give one of my real estate agents more than 50 leads to handle in a month. Well, 50 leads in a month for a real estate agent, that's costing us anywhere from what would 50 be? $150, $4, something like that. Yeah, it's not a lot of money in ad spend. And so if that's all you're going after, we're probably not who you're for. But if you're looking for 200-300 leads, right, where those are getting worked, that's what we're trying to do. So this became the conversation. As Anthony and I, in the first conversation, we're trading the numbers. I'm like, yeah, I'm trying to get to 5%. I've been fighting, like I've been doing messenger bots. I've been doing this and that. And I don't know where 5% came from. I really don't. I
asked you that. I was like, Joe, where'd you come with the 5%? Hey, look at mathematics.
Right? And so Anthony, like, when I get off the phone with him, I start crunching the numbers in the calculator. And I'm like, I could have 0.5% and still be getting 10 to 20 times my ad spend, right? That's coming back. And I'm like, why am I after this like mysterious 5%? But Anthony, seriously, like for the real estate agents who may or may not see this, I think there's this, like you see things online and it says, yeah, I spent $30 on Facebook ads and closed the deal. Is that going to happen sometimes? Sure, I guess, but when you look at it over the course of $10,000 spent, did you get a deal for every $30 when you spent $10,000 over the year? The answer is absolutely not, There's nobody in the world that's doing that right now. Maybe there'll be a day when that's possible. I don't know. I'm not going to say it's never possible, but it's not happening now. Even in the mortgage industry, and Anthony, you can back me up on this or tell me I'm dead wrong, but there's a metric that a lot of mortgage marketers use, which is cost per finance transaction or cost per finance lead, right?
Correct.
And typically that's between $1,000 and $2,000, right?
It is. It is. Look, like you're saying, the magical pill where someone spends $30 and they make tons of money. It's just, it's not realistic. Now, if that lands in your pocket that way, once out of the blue, okay, great. You know what? That's a gift. Take it, accept it, and move on. But you can't build a business on a gift, right? It's not buildable. A business is not. If you don't have the matrix to actually predict on, okay, this is an anomaly, and this is what the normal is. Let me go for the normal, and anything that comes out of the normal, it's just a gift out of the sky, right? It's God's gift to you. Going, here you go. For committing to it, here's a gift for you, right? And that's how it is. But
so a reasonable number, right, to kind of look at, and the thing that I've been talking to agents about is a reasonable number to look at in the first 90 to 120 days. Look, again, I'll just reference my friend again who did over 1,000 transactions. He's like, and this is the same that you see at Rust. He's like, average internet lead took 8 months to close. Yeah. Does that mean all the internet leads take 8 months to close? No, the average internet deal took 8 months to close. However, in the first 90 to 120 days, what can you expect your ROI be? Well, I would say, for about every $2,000 you spend on ads to Facebook, you're going to close about $1 million in real estate from the time that money's spent, right? And that's a reasonable thing. Now, what do those numbers look like? Well, it looks like somewhere around 0.5% when you're doing that, which is one out of 200 leads, right? Now, if you're an agent and you're trying to like handle 200 leads to get one to convert, you're driving yourself crazy. But at the same time, the loan officers, if they're getting that on a monthly basis, plus the stuff that starts recurring later, that becomes a very manageable pool of business for them to make a bunch of money on, and you to make a bunch of money on too. Am I making sense, Anthony?
No, you're absolutely true. I mean, look, what it comes down to, it's 100 leads equal out 1 or 2 deals, right? Possibly. So it's a 1%, like you said, even a 0.5% based on what you spend for that lead, right? Based on your cost of acquisition on that scenario. And then what the deal is, on a $400,000 average deal, okay? As a realtor, 2.5%, 2% is 8. So what are you looking at? $10,000, right?
Yep.
So that's a $10,000 commission on what? $1,000, 300 leads, or let's say 100 leads cost so about $300, $400. Let's say between $300 to $500 per 100 leads, right? Just for the argument. Even though we have those flutes, like we said, the gifts that sometimes cost per lead is less, but let's just assume $5 on surface level, right? So 100 leads is $500 that you spent, and yet you have a potential to make $10,000 on. Okay. So that's the number that we're going at. And even like what Joe said, even if you spend $1,000, right? And you get one deal out of that,
10,000 is 20 times your money, right? It's 20, and we're talking about like, and all these marketers out there like to name their best, like, pie in the sky thing that happened once, right? It's like that. The reality is what can you do? And by the way, let's say it's 1,000. Let's say it's 500. So you get 2 deals in 1,000, right? So you made 800,000 or 600,000, depending on your average cost. I push all you guys to go over $500,000 areas so that we're getting over $1 million. But nevertheless, 1-2%. If you had to make all of those calls yourself, Mr. or Mrs. Real Estate Agent, and by the way, all you ad managers who are here who are talking to real estate agents, if you had to make those calls yourself, answer me honestly, would you do it?
The answer is going to be no, man. It's not going to happen. You know that. I know that. That's why we're like, look, it isn't going to work. Well, if the realtors had to do it, or the coaching guys, or the students, or whatever, it's not going to.
Now, there's a couple things we're doing on the back end to help it, so it's not all just based on phone calls. Like I've talked to many of you, we're finding these are my numbers. Anthony likes calling more than I do, so we're letting him take the calls. But
we're old school here. That's why. You know how it is. Back in the day, dude, we had no freaking text message abilities or phones. Remember those? So it was flip phones, man. How you gonna text on a flip phone?
The phone does come into play, but for me, what I found was that the initial conversions were happening text, Facebook Messenger primarily, a little bit of email. Right. And then, of course, retargeting. Now, Anthony's got some stuff going on, too, on the back end. So we're going to dive into that a little bit for my ads managers who have deeper questions. But I wanted to make sure everybody's watching. I may show this to some real estate agents sometime or whatever just so they can see it. That's the big picture. Like for every $2,000 we're spending on ads, what happens is my team generates, East Coast team we call it, generates all the leads, moves them forward so that there's one loan officer for every $1,000 in ad spend. Right.
Correct.
And so that they can handle that number of leads, right? Now, that ends up being 200 or 300 leads for one loan officer, but they're not a real estate agent running around showing houses too. That's their job, right? That's their focus. We have some automation in there. We have some other things that we've already got it proven to work. Neither Anthony, nor I, nor my team, nor anybody makes any money except Facebook if deals don't close. So that's that is the best guarantee you're ever going to get, right? It's like the only way I make that guarantee better to you is to say, hey, I'll pay you to let me run your ads. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't make sense.
I was going to say, as a matter of fact, not only do we not make any money if none of us close a deal, right? We actually are negative because we have resources we got to pay for, manpower we got to pay for. So we're negative, then we got to come up to par, then we start making our money. So
maybe we should start charging for this. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, dude. I mean, most people think, oh yeah, you guys are making money. Like, yeah, we are when a deal closes. So if we close a deal, everybody wins. Yes. But if we don't close a deal, we're all negative too. It's not just your side or my side or the realtors or anyone else. It's like, look, dude, we have resources, allocations, software systems, text campaigns, email programs, I can name them all for you what the hell we use, and that's all cost.
Yeah.
That's cost outside of manpower. You know what I mean?
So let's dive into it a little bit to show them what we're doing on the back end. So the ads managers who are working this, of course, we create the leads. That actually gets sent over to your team using some automation. And
Yes.
it gets sent into a CRM that the real estate agent, the ads manager, the loan officer, and am I missing anybody? And me and you can see, right? Everything that's going on inside of that system. We see when that person was texted, when they were emailed, when they were called, all that kind of stuff. That's been that happens with it. And so I kind of want to walk through some of the numbers, what's happening. To me, the most valuable and important one, Anthony and me and his marketing team all got together and we're like, listen, if there's one thing we're going to do before anything else, it's text. This text is just powerful. So when they first start, so I'm just going to speak directly to the ads managers. When we first started this, and we're a little over a month in right now in the new program. Anthony did this a bunch last year and has already had success with really the whole system. The difference is now East Coast and West Coast are crashing together, put together a new CRM so that everybody could see it together, so it's not just Anthony's internal team. And man, did that cause some chaos. I mean, we blew up some volcanoes. We got people.
Oh, yeah.
It's been great. We know we're moving somewhere because we're in a place of discomfort now, so it's phenomenal.
Well, let me put it this way, John. Sorry to interrupt you. We're moving so fast on the CRM programs, dude, where the company who actually designed the CRM is looking at us going, wow, you boys are using this one completely different. We wouldn't have even thought about using it this way. We like what you guys are doing. So they're keeping an eye on us, seeing what we're doing to, maybe that's an angle for them to go. We're like, hey, guys, calm down. This is our little baby here. Relax.
Yes, yes. And as of this recording, I mean, we focused in on California and Florida primarily, which even Florida had some, just because of the system that we're using and stuff like that, tech issues that slowed it all down. Right. Surprised by the tech issues. We both knew it would happen, but I'm still surprised. Like, it's always a little bit like longer than you want it to be. Always as a business owner, right? It's always a little bit longer than you want it to be.
It's always slower, dude. And then you'd be, some of the limitations on the CRM when we looked at it, we're like, this is common sense. Why are they not having these features or these options, right? But we forget, dude, they're not realtors and they're not loan officers.
And they're not marketers.
They don't know what the hell they're doing. They're just creating a CRM based on what they think the world is like.
Yep.
And yet when you go into that system and you're like, okay, well, I needed this, I need this, I need this. And they're like, oh, well, okay. And then that's been one of the battles. That's why Joe's saying Florida's a little slow to come on, because some of the limitations within the CRM that we had to unfold and overcome within the program.
And convince the company to remove so that we can actually, which definitely, I just yell at Anthony and his team, and then they pretend like they still like me, and then
we got a pretty good rapport, dude. I'm not worried about it. We're all the same damn goal in mind. That's why we like each other.
Right. So let's talk about the texting first. So we got the text platform going, but one of the things that was happening, and we can talk through where it is now for my ads managers now. One of the things that was happening is that the system only allowed you to send one text a day, which is like, I think they did talk to real estate agents when they did that one, because that's source.
It was even worse than that, Joe. It was one text a day, but then it wasn't really one text a day. It was like one text every 4 days, unless the client responds and you can reply one time. And it was just like, wait a minute, why are we having these restrictions? So it was worse than what actually was anticipated within that program, but we fixed all that. So
recently we did a test. I think it was Friday last week or maybe Thursday last week. Did a test, and we were at over 30% of the people who became leads and gave us a number were responding back to the text. Now, some of them said, go pound sand, but some of them were very interested in talking, right? So tell me about that.
Quite honestly, the numbers were pretty damn strong that way. Text, look, people these days, yes, they want, calling a client is an added value for us, right? For the realtors, for everyone else involved in our circle, right? It's an added balance, added bonus to it. But the text people these days love to respond via text, as you guys know, either via messenger or via text systems, right? So we want to talk.
It's okay, Anthony. You can tell everybody I was right. It's all right. It's all good.
Well, it's funny. You and I are actually thinking the same. It was my partner in crime who's like, let's phone calls. I'm like, no. Phone calls are timed. right? Not instant. So yeah, you are right in that essence. Messenger and text messages work 10 times better than phone calls, but you still need the phone call to solidify the deal. That's where the concept comes in, right? You can't close a mortgage transaction or a real estate transaction most of the time on via text or email. You still need that human element involved in order to close that transaction and make it a client and move forward, right? So it's still required. Is it the most, out of 100%, is that 99% of it is phone calls? Absolutely not. I think about 10 or 20% is a phone call where you solidify the deal, but you're doing all the legwork in the text and messenger and email beforehand. Right. That's phone calls, how it works. But,
so for the ads manager who's listening, like the process on the text is first and foremost to get a response, right?
Correct.
Once we get a response, what's the next goal? Like, what does that process look like? Because I just want to, one of my ads managers sent me this, and I know you appreciate it. So Anthony's, of course, training up his team and then growing the team so that we can handle more and more. And one of the texts that one of my, you ready? I'm coming at you. Get ready. But if this is judo, get ready. You're about.
Let's do this. I got my green belt.
One of our loan officers, I'll take equal credit from it, texted the lead and said, "Hey, we just saw you were on everythingrealeestaterelated.com."
Jesus Louise.
What are they supposed to say? Like, what is that supposed to look like?
Okay, so we have automated text messages that we control, right? There's always a human element that you can't control outside of the automations. Right. So we have an automated system that is really a text, and then you kind of go for the juggler a little bit, right? You can't come out of the gates like that one says, "Hi, we're from Everything Real Estate Related, blah, what can we do for you?" Well, it doesn't work that way, but that's where sometimes the LOs jump ahead of the gun. And it does require, and this is, I want to make sure the realtors will appreciate this and your people will appreciate this. It does require a little bit unbrainwashing the LOs, loan officers, to think this isn't someone going, "Hi, I found the house and I want to get it approved. Here's my documentation. Can you please qualify me?" Right? That's not the type of lead that we're receiving on social media, right? It doesn't work that way. Nope. It works completely opposite, where you got to go jab, and then you go for the punch, and ultimately you come up with an uppercut, right, to knock them out. So that's the process. It's not. "Hi, this is Anthony from Everything Real Estate Related."
What rates are you getting currently?
What's your purchase price? Well, can we send someone out there tomorrow and pick you up and show you the houses? It's right. Not like that. But to streamline your question is, when a lead comes in to us via the automation process, automatically a text message is sent to them saying, "Hey, you know what? Just want to verify and let you know that we received your information. The property that you requested, you have that link right on your end. It goes out to them." And then we follow up with a couple of few other text messages to kind of prime them. Look, you want to ask basic questions, right? "Hey, this is Anthony. Just wanted to verify some of the information that we received from you regarding Facebook submission. This is your email, this, that. Okay, tell me a little bit more about the particular properties you're interested in, or what you're looking at, or the cities you're looking at," to kind of get a start a conversation, right? It's a conversation first. It's not, "Let me close the client." Right. That mind frame has to leave that mind, right? The LOs can't be thinking, I'm going to close this client. It doesn't work that way. Okay, it's like, let me ask some questions. Let me find out what's happening. Let me service the client, and then go in further and further. Because even if you don't close that client right down the spot, that's why we have the CRM program, which we'll go into right now a little bit, is it does a lot of the legwork for us, right? We've modified the CRM. We work with the CRM providers to where we have the AI involved in it, and we give them the shiny object, right? No one is going to buy something if they don't know if they can't imagine in their mind what it is, right? They're not going to buy it. I don't care what you tell them, what you say to them, they're not going to buy it. If they can't see that house with their family in that neighborhood and with their kids playing around in the backyard, they're not going to buy. So you need to make sure you give them a shiny object with this, the property listings, the property profiles, the price ranges, the type of homes available in the areas that they're looking for. and everything else in that. And then they're willing to buy. Then they're willing to move forward. Then they're willing to meet with the realtor and look at some of the properties, and we verbally qualify them and get whatever else we need and kind of go, okay, great, we'll have a realtor do a conference call with the client or call the client or actually even meet the client at Starbucks. We've had that happen on our side, right? Where we meet the clients and go over the details, and it solidifies the deal, right? When a client meets a realtor, ultimately, as you know, it solidifies the deal, right? It kind of goes, okay, there's a human behind something that I'm talking to, not just DLO. Because even when they talk to a loan officer, it's still a they're not doing a Zoom thing like you and me are, where we're seeing each other and talking to each other, right? It's over the phone or via text and email. So they need that next touch. So we have a lot of those things in process that we do, and you and I can go over those details as well right now.
Yeah, so I mean, text, right? They're trying to get conversation. If they don't get conversation or later in the process, then it's like, hey, check out other homes here, or maybe during the process. That link, when they click that link, they're now being tracked. We know
Absolutely.
How many houses they looked at, all kinds of different data on them on the basis of what they're looking at in there.
It does. So when they click on that link, if they ever want to modify the cities or the price range or the type of properties or anything like that, we're notified, right? The loan officer is notified. The realtors can check and see what's going on. And even if there's properties that they saved as their favorites, so you get to see the list of properties that they saved as their favorites, then you get an idea. Okay, this client is saving all the 3 bedrooms, right? Mm-hmm. It's saving the 2-story houses. It's saving a pool, right? So you get to go, okay, so this client is going in that direction wants that particular property, and we get to see all that. So when we call them, it's not a blind call, right? We go, hey, Joe, how you doing? This is Anthony with, just wanted to follow up with you. I noticed that there were some certain properties in a certain area that you looked at, and these were some of the parameters that you looked at. Was there anything in particular that you wanted to add to that or modify, or even maybe go see it in person with our local realtor that we have assigned in the area that can show you the neighborhoods and the properties and everything else outside of the house as well too. So the CRM, is it robust? Absolutely, dude. It's almost like sitting behind Joe, looking at what Joe is doing, going, hey Joe, I see what you're doing over there, right? Yeah. And that's what the CRM does for us.
Cool. So we're moving them to that. We're also moving them to that via email, right? Now, so everybody knows email. The only person I know that's awesome enough to have written emails that actually get responses is me. I mean,
I'll give it to you, Joe. Take it, David.
No, I'm teasing a little bit, but our email is by far the worst. Like, as most of you in marketing know, only if you're doing good, 15% of the emails are getting opened, right? And then if you got like a couple of percent click-through rate. And so with the emails, the goal for the emails with this system is, one, to get them connected. If they respond back, that'd be awesome. But even better is just to get them to click to go back into the shiny object, right? Now we're tracking what's happening. If somebody's spending an hour a day or an hour a week, right, in there searching, right, and looking at properties and stuff like that, that's probably a hotter target than the person who isn't doing that, right?
It truly is. Not only that, is if a particular client is actually looking at one property 3, 4, 5, 6 times in that one day, you pretty much got a client that's kind of wants that house for some reason or another, right? So the system will interact with the client and actually notify them, hey, Joe, I noticed that you looked at this property 4 or 5 times today. Was there anything in particular about that property that stuck out or that you had any further questions on, right? The system will respond that on top of what we're doing, just so you know.
Right.
So it brings the client up, and that's when they might pull the trigger on that house.
So this is the other thing. I mean, again, I'm 100. We're both capitalists. Hopefully, everybody on this call is a capitalist. If you don't like making money, then you should not be a part of this whole enterprise that we're doing. But sure. The thing is not only other people can access similar systems, right? In theory, somebody could go buy a system and try and get it to do all the things they want to do, and like go through all that infrastructure and A/B split test to figure out the things that are doing, like Anthony's done and we're continuing to do right now, constantly improving. However, when you add that on top of having one person for every $1,000 in ad spend who's following up as a vocal person, right? Either send them a personal text, not just automated, personal text, personal follow-up via phone, personal email, whatever they're doing, right? I think we can all agree that's better, right?
Absolutely.
Which is why I'm staking my, my goals and everything on this whole process. there will be a constant, I just want to say to my ads managers and the real estate agents and everything else, just to quell any rumors out there, Anthony, this will be a constantly evolving and changing process.
Without a doubt.
Never be done.
Without a doubt. Look,
Right.
There's always changes happening to Facebook, right? There's always happening with the CRM programs. There's always ways of communicating with the client. So it is an everlasting change. Now, to your point, is there some special magic potion that we have that works well? It's not a special magic potion, quote unquote.
Say
right?
yes. No, I'm just kidding.
I can't say yes to that, Joe. We do as a combination as what we've learned and done, yes. The thing is, though, do you have the time, the resources, the knowledge to go rebuild this thing and waste 2 years of your life or a year or so, whatever the case is? Because look, we didn't wake up yesterday and said, I think I want to do mortgages, Joe. I think we can do this. Right? It's been freaking 20 years in the making almost, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
So you have to understand that. And a lot of people are looking at it going, yeah, I can get the CRM program, I can do this, I can do that. Like, dude, if that's what you think and that's what you're capable of and ability to do so, be my guest. No one's hiding from you. Go for it. Do it if that's what you think. But you'll realize soon that there's only 24 hours in a freaking day. All right, there's a restriction on time, and we're like a battery, right? Where every night you plug in your battery to the wall to charge it. Well, freaking humans are the same way. If you think about it, every night we go to sleep to charge up and come back up. So we're limited on time. So, is it a magic potion? It isn't a magic potion, but what it is a magic formula. That's the difference, right? You can create the potion, but you can't create the formula too well. That's all.
Yeah. So, okay. So text, we're getting that connection. Email, we're getting that connection back to the shiny object. Talk to me about you're training the LOs. So if I'm an LO and you're training me how to handle that first phone call or the next file, talk to us a little bit about, you don't need to go into the whole script. I know you don't want to, but whatever. It probably takes you 4 hours, 4 or 8 hours at a time to train these guys. So, but nevertheless, what's supposed to be happening on that first call? What should it sound like?
So the first call is really what you're doing is you're just verifying the information with the client that you received and make sure that they've gotten the shiny object that they were looking for, right? Because that's what they're looking for at first. And then second, you start going, okay, well, Mr. Miss Client, I understand you're looking at this particular city. Let's go ahead and customize a particular property profile based on this area in this city and what you're looking for. So that way you're not wasting your time looking at properties that don't match your criteria. You don't need, I'm not looking for this type of house when I'm not looking at 100 houses when I can look at 50 houses that meet my criteria. I don't want to look at 500 houses that meet my criteria, right? So we build that custom property profile for them. We send it to the client. And during that process, though, just so you know, and obviously during that process, we're building that property profile. Well, we're asking price ranges. What's the price range you're looking at? Between 400 and 500,000, 400 and 600,000, whatever that price range is, right? And then we go, okay, great. That within that price range, you're looking at a monthly payment of X, Y, Z roughly, right?
Right.
Is that similar? Is that close to what you're paying right now in rent, right? Or is that within reason based on what what you're paying in rent and what you can afford on the thing? And they go, yeah, that's within range, or $500 give or take, depending on the areas you're at, right? And then we go, okay, well, for that particular scenario, then you're probably making around $8,000 or $10,000 or $7,000 a month, right? Because we know, as loan officers know, that they're qualifying the client without actually asking the qualification questions, right? And that's the approach that's different. Most LOs will go in, well, what do you make? Okay, how much assets do you have? Okay, what's your credit like? Dude, you lost a client. Right? The client is like, oh shit, man, I'm getting qualified.
They don't want a loan, they want a house.
Yeah. But what you're asking them, the questions you're asking is to make sure that you give them that shiny object, that house that they're asking for, not so much. So it's very subtle. So to ask your question is, I have to train the LOs to be very subtle in their approach on how to go about qualifying the client. Without asking for documentations, right? We're verbally qualifying the client so far. We know that they're qualified based on what they're telling us. And then the goal is to set up the appointment realtor right? So now the realtor knows that they're qualified verbally, so they meet the criteria, right? They're looking for that type of house, and they're looking for these things: 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2,500 square foot in this particular city. Here's their income. Here's their number of bedrooms they're looking for. All these things, right?
Here's their time. Here's their timeline when they plan on. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And we give all that information to the realtors that are on board within our system. Then the realtor has an easier time going in, speaking to the client and doing that, obviously. And then and if we need, and this is the thing that we're, and maybe we shouldn't say it on this because maybe our competitors are watching and everybody's looking at us, you and I, who knows? But it doesn't really matter. Again,
bring it on, chump.
I was going to say, it's not the potion, it's the formula, right? So the realtors will actually then, in assist and help the LOs pick up documents when they meet with the client, right? Because let's face it, a lot of times, since these are social media generated leads and not someone saying, hey, Joe, here's a client that needs to get approved, please qualify him, right? So they're willing to give you paperwork on that one. Well, social media is slightly different. They don't know you yet, right? And you've given them the shiny object, you've gone to go over the details, and you've spoken, you had a communication with them and some sort of a rapport, right? But they still don't know you, right? So if the realtor meets with the client and they put a face-to-face, now you just solidified the deal with the client. So then the realtor can actually pick up the documents from the client and send it over to their loan officer that's assigned to them to get them fully qualified, like fully verify the information that we received before they meet with a second appointment with the realtor to go look at some of these properties, right? So that's the process that we have. Otherwise, the realtors are wasting their time and the client is not moving forward and the LOs are not doing their job. So that's kind of the process as a nutshell that we do. But it's a very simple approach to go in. It's not, I want to get qualified, get approved. You can't do that in these type of things.
Okay, so, and I think we got an hour on a Zoom call that we can record. We may have to do a part 2. So just I'll let you know. So the big picture is we're running Facebook ads, right? I mean, our team and our ads managers do that. And then once they become a lead, there's a process on your side, which is first of all, they get, now we could talk a little bit about the back end of when they get called, but there's an immediate text, there's an immediate email. Tell me about when they get called and how that works.
So they will get called on day one, right? There's on day one.
Unless it's a weekend.
So unless it's the weekend or before and after hours, right? They're not going to get a call, right? I mean, let's face this, Joe. The LOs, the loan officers are humans too, right? Mm-hmm. They have a life just like you and I do, just like realtors do, just like the ad managers do as well, right? So it's not realistic for the realtor or for the ad manager to think, if I get a lead at 10 o'clock at night, that the realtor, that the LO is going to call them. It's not. Mm-hmm. That's why you got the text messages there to kind of take care of that wait, and you got the emails to take care of that wait. But during the normal hours, and what we've specified, so everybody's realistic and knows what's happening, is between 10 and 6 Pacific Standard Time, right? And we may extend that a little bit further as we start growing this operation and get more realtors on the east side. East Coast, east side, west side, right? East Coast. We'll extend those hours further back so that way we can cover some of the East Coast time zones, right? Mm-hmm. But that's what happens. I mean, look, on Saturday and Sunday, the hungry loan officers and the loan officers are up in fists and ready to go. They'll still make the calls. We have some that do actually call on Saturday and Sunday as well too. Mm-hmm. Right? The majority of time is Monday through Friday between 10 and 6 Pacific Standard Time. Outside of those boundaries, you're going to have the email and text campaign take care of those waits. And then when they come in Monday, they'll follow up with their current book of business and then start making all the calls and be on top of the calls as well too. So what I hope to take the myth out of this thing is when they come in Monday, let's say they come in Monday at 10 o'clock, obviously, just like a realtor, the loan officer has a book of business as well, right? So that don't expect just because it's 10 o'clock at 11 o'clock, all the leads are going to be followed up. It doesn't happen that way, okay? Right. And remember, unless you hire someone and they're sitting at your desk and you're paying them handsomely as a realtor, paying someone to follow up for them 24/7, then you can control that. But right. Otherwise, you can't control that, right? So they'll call, but they're instructed to call between 10 and 6 to make sure they follow up on all their leads and move forward. So that's eventually.
And how many calls do they get? Like if there's a conversation and a text happens and then like whatever, it dies out over the weekend or something and the person doesn't respond. I mean, how many calls per week is the agent attempting to connect with a person who's responded via text or something like that?
So the protocol, we have a 5-day follow-up protocol that includes text, emails, and phone calls, right? And anytime, let's say if they had, and that sole purpose of that is to have a communication or to have a response from the client, right? Number one. Once the response is done, they don't have to follow the 5-day protocol follow-up anymore as a loan officer, right? Because they've initiated a conversation with the client. So from that point on, the conversation is picked up human to human, right? And now you go, okay, Joe, here's what it is. Here's a proper profile. Here's everything else. Take a look at these properties. I'll follow up with you in 3 days from now, see which one stuck out in your mind, right? So once the conversation is initiated on the client, the 5-day protocol falls aside, right? So as the ad managers and the realtors, just because you see that the 5-day protocol is not all the way fulfilled, that's because the communication happened before the 5-day protocol, either on day 2, day 3, whatever that case is, right? And even after 5 days, if it had communication, then that means now they're following up based on scheduling appointments and vice versa moving forward.
Right.
So that's what happens in that scenario.
Gotcha. Cool. So, and then on our side, what's happening and going to happen even more is, so you've got text, email, phone calls getting followed up. Then on our side, every lead who's responded, we're now retargeting them, right? And we're sending ads to try and get them in conversation with us. And a lot of this, some will happen just direct and they'll schedule a call on our thank you pages. But a lot of this is going to end up happening in Messenger, where we end up as the ads managers having a conversation with a person who's already demonstrated that they're interested by virtue of the fact they went to the page. Maybe they didn't even become a lead yet, right? They just went to the page but didn't opt in. Those conversations then happen inside of Messenger, which we're continually looking to improve. And the ones who kind of spit out the bottom of that, then we can pass over to the LOs, right? When that conversation is ready to happen, we pass that to the LO. The LO has the conversation, finds out all the information to get them pre-qualified, to schedule the appointment with the agent so the agent can pick up the docs if the LO isn't able to do the docs themselves. And then it's happening on both sides there. So 5 ways that we're following up: phone, text, email, retargeting, and Facebook Messenger right now.
Absolutely. So it's a cumulative action or a combination between, as on Joe's side and our side over here, to make sure that we're all in the same page. And again, like Joe said earlier in the conversation, nobody gets paid unless we close a transaction. So we all have the same motivation, the same goal, the same task, right? And so is everybody working hard to make that happen? Absolutely. Because I can tell you right now, we're all negative. We got to come up to par, and then we profit, right? It's not that you go, because you have you have no expense, therefore you're at par. No, I have expense as well too, not just at par level. So one thing I want to make sure that we take away from this is that, look, per 100 leads, you're going to get one within a 60-day period to move forward, right? Within 30 days, 60-day period, give or take. The goal is to probably get 1 or 2 per 100 leads that are ready to move forward.
That would be killing it. All my numbers are based on 0.5% and $5 per lead, which we're beating. And that ends up being $2,000 per million. And it's like, those numbers work all day, every day. They work if grandma's sleeping. They work if I'm at the beach. They work in a boat. They work within a goat. They work if you eat green eggs and ham. It doesn't matter. They work. So,
so just know that the loan officers are human, just like the realtors are, just like you are, Joe, just like I am. There is life in between what we do, right? Or else it would, we won't exist. I mean, if we didn't have life in between what we do, it doesn't make any sense. So yeah, Monday through Friday, 10 to 6, Pacific Standard Time. You got 5 touches, like you said. For us is a phone call, text, and email over 5-day period, constant 3 times a day, right? Until we initiate the conversation. And once the conversation is initiated, then that's where the LO actually takes that on a human approach with the client. The goal is to verify the information, make sure everything is accurate, give that client a shiny object, and build that possibility of the client that, hey, it is possible for you to get a home. Believe it or not, a lot of these people don't think it's possible.
No, they don't.
They don't. They don't know what it takes. They've never done it. And some of and we're working on hopefully doing something. I want to do an actual a 30-day mock-up purchase, right? This is something that I'm working the back ends trying to figure this out real quick, is where we actually take a client and do a mock-up on a 30-day real-time purchase transaction, right? Mm-hmm. So that way there is no mystery to them when they decide, oh, this wasn't so hard. This is not bad. This isn't something so complicated that they don't understand. Because if we do a mock-up 30-day where we say, hey, your property inspection, your appraisal, your full approval, your down payment, all these things and they're timed according to a 30-day escrow, it would be incredibly great, because in that the client will not be surprised. They know what's happening, they know what's going on, and they'll understand that. So we're working on a lot of good things, Ted. A lot of good things that we're teaming up and doing together.
Well, cool. Well, listen, here's what I'm going to do, because this one's about to end. I'm going to send you another link. But first, if you're, and we'll talk about some internal things for some of our ads managers, but if you're a real estate agent or somebody who's looking to be a part of cashing in on the billions that we're referring out, and you'd like to get some business referred to you, if you're interested in being a part, maybe you're a marketer and we're looking for more people to run ads, because we can only handle so many real estate agents. And this is a really good deal, as you can see, for agents. Pretty much they pay for the ads and they only pay us if deals close. And we're handling all the follow-up, all the creation of leads and all the nurturing of leads, and all you deal with is pre-qualified appointments. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that.
Look, I'm a little biased on you, Joe. We say we have the hard part, which is following up and making things happen. But the reality is, Joe, it is an art and it is a science also to generate leads. Let's not sugarcoat that as well too. So you have to know what the hell you're doing on the lead side of it, and because we've all seen and heard where people spend freaking hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars, and they don't even get freaking results, right? We're talking even on the lead gen side, not yet alone closing transactions and getting paid. We're just talking on the lead gen side,
So if you want that, I don't know where this is appearing right now. It depends, but just go ahead and there'll probably either be a button below, or you can message us or click the comments. That's fine. If there's room available, we'd be happy to help you. I mean, Anthony's growing the team as fast as we can, but I mean, obviously it's not hard to fill these spots. So, nevertheless, if you're interested, we are looking to help more agents. Just click or whatever. Thanks so much. Hey, stay right.
One quick note, Joe.
Yeah.
There is a little, like you said, bandwidth time-wise. So any realtor or any groups that want to come on board with us, there is about a week onboarding process time that we have to go in there. So there is some lag time. So just in case someone goes, Joe, I want to start tomorrow. There's lag time, right? You gotta set up the processes and systems for that loan.
Yeah, if you want fast food, go to McDonald's. If you want good food, go see Gordon Ramsay. It takes a while, right? So
yes, it does.
All right, everybody have a good day. Click below if you're interested. Thanks so much.